Dylan. I'm being joined right now on the Next Best Picture podcast by Ari Aster, the director and writer of Eddington. My friend, it's so good to see you. How are you?
Good to see you, man. How are you?
Doing really well. You know, we're in the thick of Emmy season right now, obviously going through the summer movie season, and Eddington is a film that I have not been able to stop thinking about since I saw it at Cannes. I said coming out of the premiere that to me, it was like the definitive COVID movie, if you will. It was packed with pretty much every feeling that I felt during that time, every sense of dread that I have felt from that time, and how it's also like seeped into so many aspects of culture and the ripple effect that it's just had over the years. Like it's like though as if we caught a cold that transformed into a virus and we're perpetually sick and we can't seem to get over what that era did to us. I'm curious for you, when you set out to make this, what was the intention with trying to capture this moment in time? Obviously, you said it in a fictional place, but did you want it to have that kind of definitive feeling where you wanted it to encompass pretty much everything from that era?
Yeah, well, I wrote this movie in a state of anxiety and dread,
What
and
else is new?
and that, yeah, exactly, and that dread has gone nowhere. It's only gotten worse. And I feel like we have not metabolized just how seismic COVID was and what happened in 2020. And that's also because we're still living through it. I feel like it was an inflection point. It wasn't the beginning of anything, but it was. I think it was the moment at which, whatever that link, whatever that final link was to that old world, it's when it was cut permanently,
Yeah.
and kind of left stranded in our current situation. And it's a movie that is about people living in the internet. It's about people living in different realities, and it's about people who aren't reachable to each other. And I would say, I felt something in the air late May, early June 2020, and it felt distinct. It felt familiar, but it felt, I hadn't felt anything like that before. Where it's like, okay, there's something here. Like things are coalescing right now in a way that feels really huge. And I knew that wherever we were going, and I didn't know where it was or when things, it felt like things were poised to explode, but I didn't know when that was going to happen. But it was just like, whatever happens, this will stay relevant. And if I just root myself in this week, I'll that'll be solid enough ground for me to stand on, because part of living in the modern world is that nothing lasts longer than however long it takes to read, and then you're on to the next thing. And so that was very useful to me to have that ground to stand on.
Even hearing you explain it like that, it almost seems like that is the structure of the screenplay, compared to even some of your previous work as well, where there's this simmering tension. You know that danger is lurking around the corner. You don't know when it's going to come. There is obviously a pivotal moment in this movie where it most certainly comes, and things take a drastic turn into, I don't want to spoil it, but I'll just say the third act is explosive. And in a way, it does feel like it has the essence of what you were feeling feels like it found its way into how the screenplay itself was structured, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, you could almost call it like an emotional history of that week, right? It's, yeah. Well, a part of what I did that week, because I was working on Beau Is Afraid at the time, and I just wanted to get as much down on paper as I could, so that I could come back to it, which is what I did. I really rewrote this in a big way while I was editing Beau Is Afraid. But when I first started writing this, I made a bunch of different profiles on Twitter, and I put each I put each profile into a different algorithm. Um, just by just digging myself deeper and deeper and deeper into one corner or another of the internet. And that was really useful. And I took a lot of screenshots of things that I felt were useful. And this movie, I wish I could have had more shots of screens and more scenes where people are scrolling, on their timeline. Um, because I find that, that's pretty much the heart of the film. But I did as much as I could without without sacrificing like narrative coherency, and
Yeah.
without neglecting to tell a story.
No, no, absolutely. And I really appreciate too how the different characters represent obviously different points of view of how people approached this time, but specifically Joaquin Phoenix and his character in this movie. I think it's the most detestable, irredeemable character Joaquin has ever played, and that's like saying something. He's extremely unsympathetic to a point that I think it's a testament to his talent as an actor that he's able to still carry the audience along the ride for this movie, despite our feelings towards the character himself. How would you say your working relationship with him from Beau Is Afraid to Eddington changed? And then what aspects would you say remain the same that you were excited to latch on to again?
Yeah, well, you say he plays the most despicable character he's ever played, but I have to say, I mean, I think by the end he does incredibly despicable things.
Mm-hmm.
I find him very winning in this film, especially in the first half, despite whatever like ideological stances he has that would clash with a lot of people in the audience.
Sure.
Uh, I I I find that he finds so much humanity in this guy, and that's the key, I think, to this
Mm-hmm.
working, is that he's not condescending to this character. The character's slightly buffoonish, but in a way that I find relatable. Um, and uh, and again, by the end of the film, I'm with you. I agree. But I love Joaquin in this film. I think he's great, and he and I have something of a working method now. At the beginning of Beau Is Afraid, it was really just about getting to know each other. We have a lot in common. We share a sense of humor, and I think maybe like a seriousness of purpose. Um, and we're also both just like very neurotic, uh, like impossible people. But Joaquin's somebody who likes to really talk through everything. He likes to really work through the script and ask a lot of questions. And I think at first I thought the point of asking the questions was to get answers from me. And I think I learned quickly that the real point of these questions is to find the question that is the most activating question, and that brings the scene to life, and that brings the questions of the scene to life, and to find a way to keep those questions as potent as possible so that they're there on set on the day. That the minute you find an answer, the thing kind of dies in your hands. So it's about keeping those questions alive, and I think that's something that's a part of the process with Joaquin that I really value, and that I find incredibly activating and refreshing and electrifying.
Yeah, I can always feel the emotional intelligence behind his work and how deep he wants to dig into the character. It's why I think he's one of the best actors of certainly my lifetime. I'm curious after Beau Is Afraid, and I talked to you about this. I love that movie. I think it's going to be reevaluated in like, the end of the decade or something. Like people I think were a little split on it for sure. Did it cause you to have like any kind of, not saying like a mean streak or anything like, but were you heading into Eddington at all with something to prove in the aftermath of Beau Is Afraid, the reaction to it, or was that just not on your mind at all?
No, if anything, I was very conscious of not letting that affect me. I mean, I'm really proud of Beau Is Afraid. I love
Sure.
it. Um, I think I think it's some of my best work, and um and I think I should have known that it would be as divisive as it was because it is such an alienating, kind of exhausting, challenging film. But I also, I find the movie very funny. So I guess I just kind of took it for granted that people would find it funny. And I guess my sense of
So
humor
is
is very
Eddington.
well, Eddington is a comedy. It's a dark comedy. It's very dark. And it's it's something of a satire. It's dangerous to use the word satire because that means something different to everybody. Um, but yeah, as but I would say no. Beau Is Afraid. Um, you you want more people to see the movie. Like you want as many people to see your movie as possible when it comes out. Uh, you and I think, in the end, that film getting a complicated reception might actually just be good for its legacy anyway, because it is a strange film. Um,
That's where I'm at on it. I love getting into debates with people about it. And I always say, hey, listen, if we're talking about it and we're arguing about it, that counts for something against movies that are just forgotten about through time, you know?
the
So,
worst thing you can get is a meh. That's the worst.
yeah, I agree with you on that. And then so, in kind of keeping in line with this, Hereditary, Midsommar, Beau Is Afraid, now Eddington. I feel like a connective theme through your work is how much you tap into people's fears, their anxieties. You've commented before about how you weave a lot of your own into these stories, and thus a lot of them are personal to you in one way or another. Is this like a quadrilogy of sorts, or is this something that you're going to keep continuing to explore in future work?
No, I wouldn't say they're like a conscious quadrilogy. I would say there are elements of parody in Beau Is Afraid that I was conscious of that felt almost like they were in some ways uh in dialogue with the first two films.
Hmm.
This is its own thing.
Yeah.
And this is me just kind of wanting to make a film about the moment and try to reflect on and grapple with the structure of reality right now, which is that nobody can agree on what is happening. Not
Yeah.
about, it used to be, what we all used to have was an agreed version of reality. We could disagree about how we felt about it or, have disagreements within that and on that common ground, but that's gone now. Like we don't agree about what is real. Um, and I don't think that's the innocent consequence of social media. I think social media is a tool,
Mm.
and I think it's been harnessed. And I think that we have been successfully divided. And it's and you know and we're kind of warring with each other on ideological grounds while big power changes us and changes our world and leaves us behind.
Yeah. We're coming up on the end here. I have to ask, the Ted Garcia promotional videos for his candidacy for mayor, I think are so fun. I love that you have to find a fine line between making these sincere and obviously parallel to other campaign videos that you see in the modern day, but there is their own like hilarity to it, that like him playing the piano, for example. Like I think that that's just such a funny, unique touch to it. Can you tell me just a little bit about shooting those and how you go about like actually capturing the style of a campaign video?
Well, we shot those like before our days officially started while shooting. So we really kind of got all of that in about two hours, cumulatively speaking. And it was just me with a Ronin and a digital camera, just throwing stuff at Pedro. We went as fast as possible. But if you see those videos, they're not hard to parody. They kind of, they parody themselves.
Yeah.
If anything, we were trying to, stay within the bounds of what was real, while
Mhm.
still being as embarrassing as possible.
Many years ago, you told me that you one day hoped to make a Western. I have to imagine that this is that movie. to an extent. But you also mentioned that you have a desire to one day make a musical. Is that something that's like still on the table for you?
Yeah, but it's not that present right now. I would love to make a musical, but that's another way of just saying I would love to make, many different films, and that
Yeah.
I'm a fan of many different traditions, and but I don't have, for instance, a musical in mind that is driving me. Like, as of now, there's no musical coming, but I do have several films in mind that I hope I get around to.
Well, whatever the genre is, whatever the story is, I always look forward to your work. I love how much your work provokes me, makes me think, and I get into debates with people about the work involved. So keep doing what you're doing, my friend, and hopefully I'll see you soon. And best of luck with everything involving Eddington.
Thanks, Matt. Great to
Take
see you.
care. You too.
Bye.